South Africa has accused Israel of committing genocide against the Palestinian people during its 3-month siege of Gaza. The country, familiar with apartheid's effects, filed a historic case at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. The 84-page document details Israel's destructive actions in Gaza, presenting evidence of a brutal military campaign that violates the Genocide Convention. The charges include statements from Israeli officials hinting at genocidal intent. However, the US, a longtime ally of Israel, dismisses the case, hindering international efforts to hold Israel accountable for its actions. South Africa argues that Israel's ongoing violations warrant emergency provisional measures from the International Court of Justice to protect Palestinians in Gaza. The court is urged to order Israel to immediately halt military operations. South Africa's lawyers emphasize Israel's systematic pattern of conduct, including forced evacuations and bombings, contributing to what they consider genocidal acts against Palestinians.
The court has heard of the horrific death toll and of the more than 7,000 Palestinian men, women and children reported missing, presumed dead, or dying slow, excruciating deaths trapped under the rubble. Reports of field executions and torture and ill treatment are mounting, as are images of decomposing bodies of Palestinian men, women and children left unburied where they were killed, some being picked upon by animals. It is becoming ever clearer that huge swathes of Gaza, entire towns, villages, refugee camps are being wiped from the map. As you have heard, but it bears repeating, according to the World Food Programme, 4 out of 5 people in the world in famine or a catastrophic type of hunger are in Gaza right now.
The legal team points out specific violations of the Genocide Convention, such as killing, maiming, and destroying the way of life of a group based on their race, ethnicity, or religion. They argue that Israel's actions collectively indicate a genocidal intent. The lawyers highlight how Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, publicly expressed the desire to eliminate Palestinians from Gaza, using biblical references to justify their actions. While a trial for genocide may take years, South Africa requests immediate measures to protect Gaza's population. The US, however, rejects the allegations, continuing its historical support for Israel and complicating international efforts to address the situation. The International Court of Justice will need to decide whether the case has merit and if emergency measures are warranted to address ongoing violations of the Genocide Convention. This move made by South Africa surprised many. Let's be sincere. Who would expect the country of Global South to have the courage to step against Israel and its powerful allies? Why South Africa? The connection between Palestine and South Africa runs deep. Both share histories of resistance against apartheid and colonialism. Nelson Mandela and Yasser Arafat forged a friendship rooted in mutual struggles against oppression. Mandela, a prominent anti-apartheid leader, and Arafat, head of the Palestine Liberation Organization, found common ground during Mandela's 1999 visit to Gaza, where he praised Palestinian resilience. Their bond symbolized solidarity between movements for freedom and equality, transcending geographic and cultural boundaries. The historical parallels between South Africa's fight against racial segregation and Palestine's quest for statehood shaped diplomatic ties, highlighting a shared commitment to justice and a collective pursuit of liberation. The bond between South Africa and Palestine was symbolically reinforced when the first Palestinian embassy in South Africa was inaugurated in 1995, a significant milestone in their diplomatic journey. The alignment of their struggles was further highlighted last summer, preceding the BRICS summit in Johannesburg, where Palestine's potential BRICS membership was contemplated, largely owing to South Africa's backing. The Palestinian question, particularly the pursuit of a two-state solution with Israel, has consistently featured in BRICS dialogues, including the most recent summit's outcomes. The approach, both in international arenas and bilateral relations, is marked by a steadfast commitment to the Palestinian cause and advocacy for a just and peaceful resolution. South Africa's stance within BRICS is not an isolated one, but reflects a broader dedication to the values of justice, equality, and self-determination, shaping the alliance's stance on global conflicts and peace initiatives. As early as July 2022, Naledi Pandor, South Africa's Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, at a meeting of Palestinian diplomatic leaders in Pretoria, argued for the need to classify Israel as an apartheid state and urged the United Nations General Assembly to establish a commission to investigate the issue. The story of South Africa's relationship with international judicial bodies has been complex. South Africa was among several African nations critical of the International Criminal Court. Some African leaders contended that the court disproportionately targeted African leaders, leading to perceptions of bias. A significant turning point was South Africa's failure to arrest Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir during a visit to the country in 2015. Al-Bashir faced International Criminal Court arrest warrant for alleged crimes including genocide. It raised questions about the country's commitment to international justice and adherence to its obligations as an ICC member. Subsequently, in October 2016, South Africa formally notified the United Nations of its intention to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. The process was initiated but then stopped due to domestic policy issues. In April 2023, South Africa announced its intention to withdraw from the International Criminal Court again. It happened a few days after the very same ICC issued an arrest warrant for Putin. But further, it was clarified that the President Ramaphosa had made a mistake and South Africa would remain among the countries that had ratified the Roman Statute. Let me remind you, South Africa hosted the BRICS summit in August of that year. President Ramaphosa faced with the very uncomfortable choice of inviting Putin to the summit and arresting him as prescribed by the International Criminal Court warrant, inviting Putin and not arresting him, thereby incurring sanctions from all international institutions, especially since South Africa has already had a precedent of disobedience to the ICC, or not inviting Putin at all, which of course Ramaphosa could not afford. Later, the Kremlin administration decided that Putin would not attend the summit, thereby saving South Africa the headache of having to deal with the ICC arrest warrant against him. We dedicated a special video about it. Watch it now. Even if it was made 6 months ago, it is surprising how it fits to the topic and clears up the situation nowadays. South Africa's hour has come. South Africa has put international judicial institutions in an extremely awkward position with its attack on Israel in an international court. This time, South Africa appeals to the International Court of Justice. Both Israel and South Africa are signatories to the United Nations Genocide Convention, which gives the International Court of Justice, the highest United Nations legal body, jurisdiction to rule on disputes over the treaty. To better understand the difference, both the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court are the international judicial bodies, but the ICC focuses on prosecuting individuals for international crimes, while the ICJ primarily deals with the legal disputes between states and provides advisory opinions on legal questions. Both of them are associated with the United Nations. The very reputation of international law hangs in the balance, said South Africa's representative in an opening statement in The Hague. By accepting the charges of genocide in the Gaza Strip, The court is siding with South Africa, exposing Israel and the United States along with it, paving the way for Israel's total isolation. By not accepting the obvious accusations, the court discredits itself and the entire judicial system, thereby allowing countries to withdraw from the signing without any reputational problems. It's worth noting that 61 countries supported South Africa on this issue. Needless to say, among these countries are the BRICS countries, Brazil, Iran, and Egypt, as well as Turkey, the Arab League, and the Organization of Islamic Countries, and Pakistan. Recently, Indonesia has presented a new legal challenge at The Hague against Palestine's illegal occupation. Their foreign minister, advocating for international law and Palestinian self-determination, emphasizes that Israel's prolonged occupation doesn't negate Palestinian independence rights. Indonesia, a staunch supporter of Palestinian rights but not a party to the Genocide Convention, is backing South Africa's legal initiative. In February, Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi will represent Indonesia at the International Court of Justice, supporting South Africa's case and highlighting the importance of international law experts in developing a robust legal argument. Israel's Western allies, including the European Union, have mostly maintained silence on the ICJ case. The South African case against Israel at the International Court of Justice marks a crucial moment for international justice. This case is not only about the charges against Israel, but as a litmus test for the global legal system. Historically, international institutions like the ICJ have been influenced by Western powers, but now South Africa is challenging the status quo, putting these powers in a dilemma. They must either uphold the court's decision, potentially acting against Israel, or undermine the authority of these institutions, revealing a double standard. Should South Africa prevail, it could lead to sanctions against Israel imposed by the United Nations, a significant change in international relations. Moreover, the potential involvement of the International Criminal Court in the investigation of Israeli officials, including Netanyahu, echoes the actions taken against the Russian president, setting a precedent that cannot be ignored without consequences. The situation puts Western countries in a precarious position, forcing them to choose between their traditional alliances and the principles of international law. South Africa's bold complaint, joined by those of other nations such as Indonesia, Slovenia, Mexico, and Chile, marks a shift in global politics. This case should redefine international legal standards, affecting not only Israel, but also the credibility of Western powers on the world stage. It is a historic moment when decisions made will resonate far beyond the courtroom, shaping the future of international relations and justice. The future is multipolar. We are seeing it right now. Stay updated, follow us on social media, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.